They steal. They sell drugs. They murder.
He was dismembered. His head was cut off, hands were cut off, and other pieces of his body actually cut off as well.
They are one of the country's most feared gangs.
We consider ourselves a youth movement, which is more of a social movement.
Now they say they're going straight and would like to help in the fight against crime.
Man, some of the steps I am going to make mistakes, but please don't be so critical of me, man. I'm learning to do this. We just started doing this. Give us a chance. That's what I'm saying.
Tonight, the Latin Kings. Can they be trusted?
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
George Perry, whose gang name is King Animal, showed why in a Providence, Rhode Island courtroom last week when he unzipped his pants and took a leak. Right there in front of the judge, the jury, the whole courtroom. U.S. District Judge Mary Lisi initially threatened to keep Mr. Perry locked in a cell for the rest of the trial, but after he apologized, she let him back in the courtroom, where he and 5 co-defendants from the Latin Kings gang are on trial for murder, drug dealing, and extortion. All of which summarizes what this program is about tonight. Judge Lisi, like many of us, apparently likes to believe in the notion of a repentant sinner. As you will hear, that is what the Latin Kings as a group are counting on also. The Latin Kings made a name for themselves as one of the most brutal and ruthless gangs in the country. They have mostly committed their brand of mayhem up and down the East Coast, but they have branches in other parts of the country too. Their old leader is doing some hard time in solitary, and so their new leader is trying a fresh approach. He is repackaging the Latin Kings as an organization with a social conscience and political possibilities. Nightline correspondent Dave Marish has the story.
I'm King Tone, I'm your ink of New York State.
With so many police departments cracking down on street gangs, many gangbangers are saying it's time to change their lives.
I'm just going to talk to you. I got a call that there's things going on this block reflecting the Latin Kings. Like what? You really want me to say like what?
Among the stars of this self-proclaimed rehabilitation has been the once-feared Latin Kings gang of New York City.
Wipe your smile off your face because ain't nothing funny or sweet about me, my brother. Ain't nothing sweet about me, all right? So check this out.
The new leader of the Latin Kings, Antonio Fernandez, King Tone, says he's turning his gang away from criminal activity, and especially away from the crime that 5 years ago put him in prison, selling crack cocaine.
Because this isn't what we do anymore. We don't come around and sling and bang and do youngsters like that. You going to school? Don't lie to me, you going to school?
Education and organization, family values, and Latin pride. These are the ideals King Tone says he wants the black and gold of his Latin Kings to stand for.
Listen to me, man. Either y'all stop flying the colors, or you come in and get righteous with us.
I respect what you're saying.
You respect what I'm saying.
And I understand why you're coming out here to talk to us, know what I'm saying?
You understand?
Yeah, open my eyes.
Was that confrontation on these Brooklyn streets real or just a setup for the cameras? Given that the whole thing could have been fixed in a phone call, it's almost impossible to say. In fact, after a spring in which the Latin Kings have had more media coverage than the Mets or the Yankees, almost nobody in New York knows for certain whether their claimed transformation from a criminal gang into a community political organization is a $2 Rolex or the real McCoy.
It certainly is something that would be good if true.
Greg Smith covers the Latin Kings for the New York Daily News. He is skeptical.
Right now, in that court, there's a trial going on with 2 kids who shot a cab driver in the back of the head. The guy lingered for 3 weeks and then he died. Why did they do that? I think they did it because they were trying to impress other members of the Latin Kings gang. And with that kind of constituency, I think they're going to have a hard time turning themselves into the Latino YMCA?
I'm convinced that he's sincere because he wants to better himself and the kids around him. A lot of these kids come from broken homes. A lot of these kids come from addicts' home where there's a lot of garbage and that's all they see all day and all night. So I think he wants to get them out of that environment and give them hope.
Iris Baez's son, Anthony, was killed by a New York City police officer using an unauthorized chokehold. Ms. Baez's grievances were underscored to many in her community when the death was ruled a justifiable homicide. As community outrage rose and a protest campaign was planned, King Tone came to see Ms. Baez.
They heard about Anthony and that they feel that it was one of them that got murdered and that they wanted to know how they can help me. And I said, can you do security for me? And they said, okay, we'll do that. And they did security and they went to court every day.
For his king's labors, King Tone has gotten lots of favorable exposure for himself and for his gang.
I said we can't depend on politicians, but we sure can depend on the community.
It gives them a great deal of credibility. They're not here for 5 minutes and gone, you know, the next week or something. You know, they're there for the whole duration.
Sociologist David Brotherton has spent years observing the Latin kings. He says there's something about King Tone that's caught his attention.
He stays and fights to transform the group from a gang to a street organization, to a grassroots social movement, political movement, call it what you will. But there's definitely been a transformation.
Why do we have to become an ex-gang member? Why can't we just become an ex-gang? And let's transform the whole group. Let's not transform just one kid. Let's take the whole group and save thousands.
That's the new Latin Kings proposition in a nutshell.
How can a 12-year-old look up to a Latin king when this guy's popping up, you know, smoking, coking up right there in the park?
And Hector Torres, a Bronx gang member in the 70s turned political operative in the 80s and 90s, has been helping King Tone to sell the repackaged product.
We're political neophytes. We don't call ourselves a political movement. We consider ourselves a youth movement, which is more of a social movement.
You know, as a Christian, I believe in redemption. You know, I believe that people can be rehabilitated. I believe that people can reform, change themselves.
Former Black Panther Charles Barron has joined the new Latin Kings Brain Trust, schooling them in community and political organizing. And now King demonstrators can pop up anywhere in the 5 boroughs of New York.
King Tone loves his culture. He's a spiritual man. He believes in God. He believes in his people. And he's bold, he's strong. And I believe he's going to make it. I think he has a triumphant spirit.
Listen to me, man. We're never going to be nobodies till we start trusting and being there for each other for real.
There's a religious spirit to King Tone's Universals, monthly gatherings of hundreds of Latin kings and queens and their followers.
Almighty Father, King of Kings, I pray that you just bless me and open me up, that I may be a vessel of your power of the crown.
I can tell you that he's a very sensitive human being. I recognize that in my theology, he's a prophet. What is a prophet? A prophet is someone who first denounces injustice, second goes against injustice. So for the last 1.5 years that I have been having a relationship with him, he's very consistent in doing this in his life. So I don't think that is someone faking.
King Tone himself, personally, to put it in just the crudest street terms, you buy his act?
No.
Why not?
Because I know better.
Among people who long dealt with the old Latin kings, like the number 2 man in New York City's prison system, or federal prosecutor Mary Jo White, the answer is bluntly unanimous when you ask, do you believe in King Tone's new Latin Kings reform?
The answer is no. I mean, again, we'll watch things very closely. We have continuing investigations going on. No one would wish it were so more than we do, but in short answer to your question, no.
But taking no for an answer, as you'll see in a moment, is something the Latin Kings are not accustomed to doing. Part 2 of Dave Marish's report when we come back.